This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
Got him on the McClarty Daniel hotline today. Mike, where have your vacation travels taken you? Or are you traveling at all?
Yes, I was traveling. I watched the Friday night Arkansas and Kentucky baseball game on my cell phone in a motel room in Denton, where I went to college. I spent Friday just walking around looking at my old places where I lived and buildings that aren't there anymore and some that are still there. And then the next day, I had to go to Fort Worth for my aunt's funeral. She was 96 years old, and she was, of course, living there when I was going to college. She was living in Fort Worth. And so I pulled up to the funeral home early and watched the game on my phone in my car before that. And then I went to Lubbock after that and watched the Sunday game at my sister's house because she gets ESPN3. So I watched all three games, or most of all three games, two of them on my phone.
So, all right, so losing 2 out of 3 to Kentucky knocks Arkansas out of first place overall in the league, but I don't know if it's really changed anything as far as the postseason picture is concerned. But it does. I think that's the best team Arkansas has played this year. Still having trouble knocking in runs. They left a lot of men on base the last couple of games, but we've seen that. What we hadn't seen are back-to-back poor starting pitching performances from a team that really kind of needs good starting pitching game by game.
Yeah, that's been one of the hallmarks all year long, and I think one of the two, either Molina or, one or two of those guys have struggled. I mean, Hagen Smith's been solid all year long, but when both of them just go a few innings, give up a lot of runs, it puts a lot of pressure on your bullpen. I really question that decision to bring McIntyre in Game 3. I know he did it early, but he'd already pitched. He's just not pitching well right now, and that really started the problems. And, they were down, I think, 3 runs, and then suddenly down 6 runs or whatever, and it was just kind of over because you're not getting enough hits. And so they've relied on pitching all year long, and is it going to be there? Is it going to continue to be there, and what's the hitting going to be like? Because it's hit and miss. Some games, like the Friday game, they hit well, and in other games they don't. It's a very unpredictable team to be a top 2 or 3 team all year long. It's just been a very unusual season. But all 4 of those teams, A&M and Tennessee and Kentucky and Arkansas, are just knotted right there together. And, it's all going to be decided the next 2 weekends. I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but I'm not sure it really matters. I talked about that last week. I mean, what really matters is who's in your regional, who's your 2 seed, and is there a real dangerous 3 seed, because sometimes there is, and then who's on the other side of the bracket if you win that? Who's your super regional opponent? So, that's just the way it is.
Well, so maybe there's a change to the weekend rotation this next weekend. Maybe it's Gage Wood, and maybe he'd be going in for Mason Molina. But if that is the case, it's the first real change in the entire season for the starting rotation. Where you're seeing a lot of change is in the lineup. And I could go through the 10 years that I've called Arkansas baseball, and I'd be hard-pressed to find any series where there were 3 different left fielders and 3 different designated hitters. Those are spots in the lineup where glove be damned in a lot of cases. You got to get out there and you got to hit. And when I see 3 different starters at each of those spots in the lineup, that tells me that maybe you don't have one. You're trying Dave's playing numbers and things like that. Usually you just like to pencil somebody in to designated hitter and to left field. Nobody's taken the reins of either of those spots in the lineup.
Yeah, I think he's still just kind of going back and forth trying to figure out what his post. I think he'll settle on something once postseason starts, and I still think he's just trying to figure it out. Making those changes, and like you say, defense be damned, I think we're seeing some evidence of that. There were some miscues out there in the outfield. Not a lot, but some, and they've been so solid. And so you sometimes pay a price when you try to get better hitting and put somebody back there that may not quite be the defender, but he's got some decisions to make, and I think he'll make them right before the regional starts. And I think you'll see it settle down at that point, but maybe not. I don't know.
Mike, who would be your starting left fielder? We had 3 different ones in 3 different games. Who do you like the best out there?
Man, this is why he's Dave Van Horn and I'm who I am. I don't know. You know, I like Jason Jones out there some because he hits some, but then he's inconsistent. I'm still thinking the same thing with center field. Wilmsmeyer was a hell of a center fielder. He just didn't hit much. You know, I'm glad I don't have to make those decisions. I mean, I question him bringing Will McIntyre in when he did, but at the same time, that's what he gets paid to do. And it's real easy to sit and second guess him. And you really start to ask yourself when you're doing that, what am I doing? This guy, look at his reputation as a college baseball coach, and you're second guessing this guy when you're a media bozo. Come on. You know, that's just that's my life.
It's just a different position than they've been in, because think of how many years where you knew who your left fielder was. You knew who the designated hitter was going to be. You basically knew almost everybody in the lineup and who was going to play what position and where they'd hit in the lineup. You just didn't know who was going to start on Saturday or start on Sunday sometimes. You'd have 2 TBAs at times, even for the team that was number 1 all season long. Sometimes there'd be a couple of TBAs on a weekend, you know. So it's just different that now the TBA isn't in those 2 spots and in center field, you know. And by now, Mike, I mean, I know a lot of folks are like, all right, so we got to change our approach. They got to do something to get the bats going. And sometimes I look at it, in this way. They played 48 games or 49 games. After 49 games, I think you are what you are, and this is what they are. I think there'll be some games where 8 to 10 might happen, but you just wouldn't expect it to happen 2 or 3 times in a weekend like some others. But what I think you do expect and what you need is Hagen Smith to do what he does, and that's what he does, which is so amazing that he's been so consistent. And it's like, so look at the start he made on Friday, Mike. Kentucky had been averaging 7 strikeouts a game in the SEC. You know how difficult that is to make that kind of contact against that kind of pitching 7 weeks into the season, and yet Hagen just missed so many bats. I don't know, 30 swings and misses or something. It was incredible to watch.
Yeah, and then when you talk, I feel like, and maybe this is wishful thinking, but I feel like Kendall Diggs is just kind of on the edge of breaking out of that. The Friday game real promising, and I think he got an RBI yesterday. You think that's what has to happen, because he seems to keep coming up when there are 2 men on or 2 in scoring position or whatever. It just seems like every time you turn around, he's the guy that's got to deliver some RBIs. And he hasn't been, and he finally did, and you just hope that continues.
Hey, Mike, do you watch the Kentucky Derby? There was some Arkansas connections with Mystic Dan.
Yeah, I tried to, but, I don't know how the guy calls that. Do you? Have you ever asked yourself how a guy does that with all those horses and stuff, and they're coming around, and I couldn't tell what happened at the end.
It's the same answer as how you get to Carnegie Hall. Practice, man, practice.
I guess. But, wow, what a job to have to do that. But they do a great job. But I guess I thought he lost, and then he didn't, and I guess that made a lot of Arkansas people happy, especially since Sam Pittman was there. And, there's this thing going on between Arkansas fans and Kentucky fans. I don't know how long that's going to go on. It's pretty funny to watch them go at each other on the internet. You're going to find out about this guy. I don't care how good his class is, and he doesn't know what to do with these guys. Well, thank you, but we don't need your advice. It's pretty funny.
Do you think there's just a little bit of that because who Coach Cal came to? If he would have went to UCLA, but the fact that he stayed in conference, in division, going to a rival, do you think that just kind of pours a little salt in the wound?
Oh, yeah, and it's going to be interesting when they play each other. And we talked last week. I think they'll probably play twice next year, so that'll be good. I'm still not sure about this recruiting class. He's got 6, and there was this story, I don't know if you guys read it, about this latest guy that he's looking at that apparently was interviewed and said that Coach Calipari was approaching it from the standpoint I'm recruiting you to Coach Cal University, not Arkansas. And there was some thought that would offend Razorback fans. I don't think they care. Whatever recruiting tactic he wants to do, I understand that process. You're saying, I'm still the same guy I was at Kentucky. I'm just at a different school. Nothing's going to change. Come here and play for me, and then once you get here, you're going to find out how great it is to be a Razorback.
And I mean, that's an understanding of something we've hit on so much. Look how many of the players that already had committed to him, or Big Z that played for him, and others that are thinking about coming to play for him that were at Kentucky last year. I mean, that's if you hire John Calipari, this just goes along with the territory. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means you're getting a different kind of player, and they're going to play at your school because of who the coach is. That happens to be, I think, the way it is for probably about 85% of student athletes right now.
What I get from most Razorback fans right now is not they're still worried about the 7 spots that have to be filled. They just get nervous about that. Oh, okay, we got 6. The portal's closed. They're grabbing all these good players out. Are there any good players left? So you have to make phone calls and try to find out, And I always call Courtney Mims of our staff because her dad's a D2 coach, and he knows all these coaches. And I just talked to her this morning, and she said her dad said, look, when it comes to guys in the portal, you can't look at these portal rankings because those are media people ranking, not coaches. And coaches, some guy might be all the way down in the portal, and he's really somebody you really want. He said there's even D2 guys that are going to end up at D1 schools that are going to do well because they've been on the D2 level and they've played well, and coaches know what they can do. They look at their body of work. So there's no real worry about how Cal's going to finish this thing out. There's just plenty of guys still out there, and he's going to do what he's always going to do. He's going to take his time. There's no rush. He's got some things going on in the background. Now, the one thing that people are questioning is when Johnny Tyson said in his interview the other day that he did not provide any NIL money. His money all went to pay Coach Cal's salary. Now people are starting to say, well, where's the money coming from? And have they run out? Are they going to run out? All of this. With fans, there's always things to worry about.
Well, yeah, I don't think that'll ever change. Mike, how much longer are you on vacation? When you get back, I was going to call it the tube, but there isn't one. Well, YouTube, I guess that could count. When are you back on the tube?
I will be back next Monday, a week from today.
Okay. We'll be looking
in time
for you
to do yours. You guys will be the first people I talk to after I get back.
Well, we're looking forward to it then, Mike. That's good. That's right. That's a big Ric Flair, small Ric Flair. Woo. Thanks, Mike. Enjoy the rest of vacation, okay?
We'll see you.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike Irwin, Pig Trail Nation, with us here on Halftime. Mike also found on his trip to North Texas, Matt, I guess he had his first ever In-N-Out burger.
Oh, I was going to say 72-ounce ribeye, but In-N-Out burger. So they're making it this way. They're coming east.
They've been in Texas for a long time now. It's been over 20 years, I think.
I don't know why I thought Whataburger was a Texas thing. But
it is.
Okay. It
is. It's just In-N-Out burger is too now.
It's on the come. I like it.
California, then Arizona, then
I've never
Texas.
had an In-N-Out burger.
Guess what? It's just as okay in Texas as it is in California.
That Whataburger in Russellville, that's the one that's pretty good. What do you got? A CJ's, you got a David's Burger there in Little Rock, Purple Cow. They still got Purple Cow?
Oh yeah.
Man, you can't beat a good burger. Get a double cheeseburger, some fresh jalapenos, maybe a splash of some mustard and some barbecue sauce.
Or a little animal style. Does that sound about right? That's the one that I would order.
Is that like sauteed onions and mushrooms? Is that animal style?
I think that's exactly. I think it's got a special sauce and onions on it too.
Oh my goodness! It's lunch. I'm getting hungry now.
It's got the most overrated fries on earth. Absolutely on earth.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.